thank you, judges. Thank you, audience, for this opportunity to.
I don't have an umbrella.
Not at all. Thank you for this opportunity to present to this Dragon's Den today. My name's Keith Johnston. I'm originally from Scotland and now based in London. My background is as Director of Communications for a global professional body where I manage their content, and I now run my own network dedicated to financial services professionals in the wealth structuring sector. What I want to present to you today is a proposition called On Liberty, which is a classical liberal content platform. And the idea of the content platform is to aggregate and amplify classical liberal thinking. It's a platform that we will bring together content which is pre-existing. We don't believe in recreating the wheel. There's a lot of content out there. It needs to be brought together and presented. And our editorial focus will be on classical liberal thinking, as you might think. There are other websites, particularly in the UK, Smart Thinking, that bring together think tank content from across the political spectrum, but we want to add a classical liberal editorial twist to that. You'll see in the presentation I've set out a long sort of list of what that might involve. I'm sure we could have a long debate in the room about what classical liberalism is, but I'm going to take a chance and say that we're going to focus on individualism over group identity. We're going to focus on equality of opportunity over equality of outcome, something that Prince Michael talked about earlier. I'm very keen to further the debate and discussion, particularly in the cultural area. I think the economic area is relatively well covered. I think the issues that we face more broadly in classical liberalism are fundamental attacks on the ideas of the West and the Enlightenment, and I think those play out in the cultural realm as well as the economic realm. So that's why I've suggested the focus should be on culture. Excuse me, I'm just going to move my page up. So the idea is to work with existing partners to help amplify their content. It's really a curation platform. It's as I say, there's no point in reinventing the wheels. There's content out there, and that needs to be promoted. So the activities are it's partly a website, but of course, as we know, people are lazy. They're not going to come to the website and have a look at it every day. So that will be combined with a digital newsletter, which will bring together regular content, perhaps on a fortnightly or monthly basis, depending on funding and the amount of content. We'll also initially have a smallish social media operation, and then ultimately hope to develop more editorial in terms of podcast and videocast content, but only when funding is available for that. The initial impact over and above creating the platform will be we're going to push it out to potential prospects through a campaign, a targeted campaign on social media. We have excellent access to experts in that field where it can be done surprisingly cheaply, and we estimate it will reach between 50 and 100,000 prospective individuals in our target demographic. I mentioned to you the Smart Thinking platform. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it. It is a very simple and successful platform that works in the UK for UK think tanks. So you can have confidence that this kind of platform does work. It's a proven model. What we're doing is taking the same idea and applying it to a particular editorial set across Europe. 1 minute, great. We've got two options for funding. We can either just fund the website and the digital newsletter, or we can go for option 2, which is fund that and the outreach program as well. In terms of sustainability, we expect to be sustainable after 12 months. We would expect content partners, if we're amplifying their content, we would hope that they'll be willing to help pay for the format, and we'll also have a Patreon account and looking for advertising and sponsorship. And that's my presentation, and I'm very happy to take your questions in whatever order.
Thank you. So you mentioned 50,000 to 100,000 people.
Sure.
You could push your newsletter out to the very first. What kind of open rate do you expect, and how are you going to translate that into your very first advertisement sale?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, my experience of targeted newsletters at engaged audiences is working at a professional body where we had an engaged audience. I wasn't happy unless I was getting 50 to 60% open rates on my newsletters. Now, that's not what I would expect necessarily initially. But let's bear in mind that the people that will be signing up for the newsletter will be coming across the site and they'll be interested in it. So if I don't get that to begin with, I'll be disappointed. So I know the industry average for getting a newsletter out to somebody who has not expressed an interest, in other words, sort of cold emailing them, is going to be about, something between 2% and 5%, I would think. But I'd be hoping for an engaged audience, and if I can keep them satisfied, those are the rates I'd be looking for.
And how will that translate into your first advertisement sale?
The exact, I think it will. The short answer is, I have not correlated that as yet, but I would anticipate and have organised websites and newsletters that have banner advertising in them. I couldn't tell you what the exact sort of rate of conversion is in terms of how much income that will create, but that is anticipated to be part of it.
Thank you.
How will you market this platform to all those think tanks and intellectuals, and what's in it for them to publish their articles with you? And what and connected to that, are you thinking Europe? Are you thinking the world? What are geographic target group?
Sure. So I think there's three separate questions there. One is on talking to the content partners. If the platform is successful, what the conversation with the content partners is I'm going to amplify your content. So if your content's on the site, then I will be promoting that content for you. So I would anticipate that being part of their marketing campaigns. So that's very directly, what's in it for them. In terms of identifying the kind of people that will sign up, I mentioned the targeted advertising campaign. And what we do there is a three-stage process, targeting individuals who are using and looking at policy and political sites, testing the content with small amounts of advertising in different platforms, whether that's Twitter or websites, and then deploying our resources into those areas once we know what works. So that's how I would anticipate bringing those on board. I think there was a third part, which I've now...
Just you're thinking Europe as a target?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think what I find very frustrating is in the last few years, I've been able to access fantastic content from Canada and North America, and I can't access that content from Europe. Now, whether that's sort of my fault or whether there's something that's not happening, I know there are intellectuals on the continent, so that it should be accessible. Now, I don't think I can promise that the site will have translated content from the beginning, but that would be something that I would anticipate doing over time.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is relatively low cost to take on a project for 12 months, and you mentioned the On Liberty team, and who's
yeah, it's essentially, I mean, I have a full-time job. So this would be something that I would set up as a part-time affair, and then use a consultant on the social media and web site who I've already identified. So, and those costings come after a discussion with the consultant. So
Okay.
It doesn't involve paying me anything.
Linda Whetstone had a similar idea about 10 years ago. I mean, whatever, ideas on liberty.
Right.
How your project is different from that, or, for example, online library on liberty of the Liberty Fund in Indianapolis?
I don't know any of those organisations, no, and I haven't had any conversations with them. I've taken my inspiration from the Smart Thinking website in the UK.
Something of the sort is being done by Jeff Tucker and Larry Reed of the Foundation for Economic Education. There is some sort of a division of labor, you know. So Larry is dealing with moral issues. So Jeff is more with economics and whatever.
Okay, yeah.
Social.
Good, yeah. Good luck dividing the moral and the economic and the social. So that'll be a fun fight.
They're also, along with the issue of economic affairs and Steve Davis, they're contributors to Learn Liberty. So you will collect all these, again, navigation.
Sorry, what?
Learn Liberty.
Yes.
You know that website, yes?
Yes.
Yeah. So you will be, again, navigating in all these, whatever, internet sources. So, like the Polish idea.
Right.
Yes.
I don't see it as a duplication, if that's what you're driving at.
I have one more quick question. If you only had one article to have on there that's a cultural issue that you know is going to get clickbait, so you get a lot of opens, what's the article that you would choose to put up, and what subject matter?
The gender pay gap. Jordan Peterson. He tends to divide people. So I think that would generate lots of interest and excitement.
Nope. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Thanks, guys.